Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, here to talk about some albums and tracks that I didn't really get to review this week, but I wanted to talk about anyway. Things that I missed, but I wanted to hit. The Swedish metal outfit Ghost has a new track out on their website for streaming and for download. Yes! This band's last album, loved it! So I'm excited for this new LP of theirs, but was kind of surprised by what I heard with this papa 3/4 rhythm and this circus organ in the track that I wasn't digging all too much. The guitars felt swallowed up by these electronically tinged synthesizers, and it just didn't rock to me. I know Ghost traditionally has been pretty campy, has never really been about being all that heavy, but I just wish this track had a little bit more oomph to it, a little bit more of that devilish attitude that made their debut LP so awesome. But still, I am looking forward to the new LP, which I'm assuming is coming out in 2013. I hope you guys dig the track more than I did. If you did, then yay! Oh, the new Earl track. Oh, the new Earl track. So many people asked me to talk about the new Earl track, and yeah, I haven't really been in a rush to do it, but given how inconsistent Odd Future has been up until this point with weak albums and forgettable songs, can you really blame me? I guess you could. I should talk about things when they come out. I'm sorry. Anyway, this track was actually pretty decent, pretty good, with a very choppy piano beat, some murky and dirty drums behind that too. I actually think it's one of the better beats an Odd Future member has been on since the early mixtapes, and it's one of the more mature tracks too, with Earl lyrically diving into ideas of mental illness, as well as separation from his father and feeling alienated and just having this feeling of not belonging with kids his own age. However, it's not really anything striking new or all that emotional for me personally, because I kind of feel like I've already heard this angle before from Tyler. However, I will say that Chum does squeak by as being more interesting. Now, will I review Earl's album when it comes out? Most likely. But am I going to be hyped on it and everything like that? No, you know, if the album is great, I will decide that when I actually hear it. Starkey is an electronic music producer. This is his third full-length LP, and what you're going to find on here is pretty much a synth odyssey that is trap music flavored with all sorts of futuristic sounds, weird samples, and an extra helping of bass. It's very colorful, very playful. I definitely recommend it to Tonight fans, but I didn't really come out loving this entire thing personally because some of the progressions, some of the sequencing of these tracks does get a little predictable. But as is, there is a nice dynamic going between these synth pieces and these bangers. Ooh, A$AP Rocky dropped a tight track with this one, and a lot of people are telling me his new album leaked. I know that. I know it. Now, while I'm not going to talk about that LP yet, I'm going to wait, until we're a little bit closer to the release date, but we do have Classics Week coming down the pipe. But still, in the meantime, if you have not listened to the leak or anything like that, you just have this track to listen to. It is a great track. I mean, it is worth listening to again and again to kind of hold things over because it has Big Crit, Yellow Wolf, Kendrick Lamar, Action Bronson, Joey Badass. Who am I forgetting? Danny Brown! And together, I mean, it's just a lot of big, modern names, and they do not disappoint together. I mean, Joey Badass raps about signing to Rockefeller. Danny Brown wouldn't hit that shit with his worst enemy's penis. Big Crit does his thing. Action Bronson does his thing. Yellow Wolf brings that grimy Eminem flavored trailer park flow. Kendrick Lamar does his cry cry thing. It's all awesome, and the beat, the instrumental, is great too. Bring in that epic string-kissed boom bap aesthetic that is really enjoyable. Hopefully other songs on this thing have as big a presentation. This is the latest LP from T.I. Trap Music Forefather, and after listening to this, the only question I have in my head is, what happened to this thing? There's some pretty hot features on this LP, especially Andre 3000 on the track Sorry. Awesome track. And listen to the subliminal he throws at Big Boy on that thing. The recording on this album is terrible. So many of the beats on this thing are thinner than a crackhead, and T.I.'s vocals sound very thin as well. It's like it wasn't mastered right. I mean, there's not a lot of beef to some of these tracks, especially on the first two songs where T.I.'s vocals are actually kind of buried behind the instrumental. Some of the sounds, some of the instrumentals on this thing can be bearable. They sound okay, but there's just not a lot of bump to this album. Plus, the album doesn't really have a cohesive or cinematic feel that's kind of implied in the album title. And I understand there's supposed to be like a sequel to this album coming out next year. I'm hoping that's better because the production and recording on No Mercy beats this album by a long shot. O.N.I.F.C, which unfortunately does not stand for Only Nice Inventors Find Cash. This new Wiz Khalifa LP, while I did actually think it was way better than Rolling Papers, it was not necessarily because of lyrical content or anything like that. I mean, in terms of lyrics and flows, it's the same old Wiz, but the production on this thing is awesome. With this LP, Wiz Khalifa actually hops onto the cloud rap bandwagon with some really spacey, atmospheric beats that kind of make me feel like he's been smoking up a lot to Live Love ASAP. Definitely a Clams Casino kind of feel on this thing, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a ripoff. It's more like a much more expensive version, given that you do have a lot of big name producers on this thing making these atmospheric beats. You know, a lot of the repetitions in these vocals and just the topics can be pretty mindless, but the instrumentals, especially on a track like Medicated, make what I'm hearing feel really epic and purposeful and meaningful, even though that's totally not the case. It's mood music, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like the only reason it succeeds as mood music is because Wiz is so uncreative in what he raps about, pretty much weed, money, women, haters, that it's easy to kind of tune him out over time and just enjoy the instrumentals. Finally, I want to talk about the latest track from indie rock superstars Yola Tengo. They have a track out titled Om, which is actually pretty nice. It's from their full-length LP dropping next year in January, titled Fade on Matador Records. This is a pretty sweet indie, psychedelic, folk rock tune that is very repetitive, kind of mantra-like in terms of lyrics and music, getting thicker, louder, kind of more intense as it goes on, noisier too. And I like the sentiment behind the track that, you know, bad guys sometimes win, good guys sometimes lose, but things will not always stay the same. If you've given these albums, these tracks a listen, what did you think of any of them? Did you love them? Hate them? Why? And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Anthony Fantano, albums, tracks, forever.